Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today a lot to get through. I've got the remnants of the Category 4 strength severe tropical cyclone expected to hit Western Australia. We've had a light dusting of snow overnight in parts of Victoria and New South Wales, and now some torrential rainfall expected yet again for Queensland. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather update. We're going to start things off with the remnants of ex-tropical Cyclone Olga, but there are video chapters in the description and in the scroll bar, so you can select what part of the video suits you the best to get the best forecast for your location. If you haven't already, then please do consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. We're taking a look at ex-tropical Cyclone Olga first, or it's not an ex-tropical cyclone yet, but it will be very soon. It did briefly lose all of its thunderstorm activity last night for a little bit, which is definitely a sign of some rapid weakening that's starting to occur, and you can see the low pressure system associated with the storm center is rapidly dying off, but it still does have cyclone force winds, rally shoals, winds at 67 kilometers an hour, just barely Category 1 status, but it certainly still does have cyclone winds. You can't be denying that, but it really does look like the storm is dying off big time. There has actually been a pretty big shift in the forecast though overnight. This storm will remain with cyclonic force winds, gale force winds, for the next 48 hours, and it will likely make a very close pass to the West Australian coastline. Now, the Bureau of Meteorology is not calling for a direct landfall from this system right now. However, I do believe that this system is going to come close enough to actually deliver gale force winds ashore on the especially Barrow Island and some of the outer islands around La Grande Island and so forth, around Karratha and Roebourne. I definitely believe that those locations are at risk of receiving cyclonic force winds at this time. And yeah, if we play this run through as we get in towards this evening, it's going to be very interesting to watch the system's motion this evening. If it completely loses its convection tonight, then it will likely not make landfall as a cyclone strength system, but it looks like it's going to hold on to its thunderstorm activity at least somewhat until probably about Wednesday before it really does start to weaken below cyclone status, and those gale force winds do completely fall away from its centre, but does make a landfall on the West Australian coastline. The Bureau of Meteorology's cone of uncertainty doesn't even take the storm ashore on Barrow Island, I don't even think. So the storm is forecast to remain well offshore as per the Bureau of Meteorology's forecast, but I do believe that there is a risk of a cyclone making landfall between Onslow and Karratha. It will most likely be at tropical low status when it crosses the coast, but there is a slim chance that it does contain gale force winds. It most likely won't be a fully fledged tropical cyclone, but it will have gale force winds, at least in wind gusts, as it makes its landfall, probably on top of Onslow at this time. It will probably be closer to Onslow, but yeah, I do still believe that this system has a hot chance of making a cyclone force landfall somewhere on the Pilbara coastline. You can see peak wind gusts expected to be at around that 100 kilometer an hour threshold over the next 3 days, and again that's reciprocated amongst the other forecast models. The Axis G3 expecting 70 to 80 kilometer an hour wind gusts, a little bit stronger 80 to 90 kilometers an hour on Varanus Island and also on Barrow Island. So yeah, most major forecast models, the GFS also included, expecting gale force winds across the Pilbara coastline. No mention of gale force winds from the Bureau of Meteorology yet. I do believe that they'll update their forecast this morning at 8 a.m, but I would not be surprised if they do call for some cyclone strength activity on the West Australian coastline. I highlighted the possibility yesterday that there's a slim chance this system brings cyclonic wind gusts ashore. This will really not be a storm to be worrying about. The wind gusts will be equivalent to maybe a gusty thunderstorm, and they'll only last for a couple of hours. This will be a very weak system, and it will show in how the storm behaves. It will be a dying system as it makes landfall. Rainfall is also kind of a threat as well. It's nothing crazy, but again, up to 100 millimeters could fall over the next 3 days in some locations. Most likely going to be 20 to 25 millimeters. Nothing too crazy, but again, the Eastern Perth calling for some pockets, especially being Karratha, Roebourne, and Port Hedland, expecting up towards 100 millimeters of rainfall to fall, and the Access G3 as well calling for some significant rainfall, but again only around the storm's core. Now, I believe that the rainfall is dramatically overestimated. Considering the storm's environment right now, we're going to take a look at mid-level humidities. It is moving into an environment of very dry air, very unfavorable conditions for this tropical cyclone, and it shows. I mean, the low pressure area currently has mid-level humidity values of about 15%. Now, that is about 5 times lower than what you would want for a tropical cyclone, as my voice forecast completely disintegrates, you'd probably be typically wanting values of around 70 to 80% for a strong tropical cyclone, and this system has values of around 8%. So really, those humidity values are in the toilet, and it's going to show over the next few days with how the storm behaves. As the low pressure area moves ashore, it's not going to have the opportunity to be blowing up thunderstorm convection, just because it will have so much dry air infiltrating it, and that means that the thunderstorms just won't be able to get a good grip of their local environment. And the eastern river calling for even drier air as this storm makes its landfall. I mean, humidity values of around 5%. You can basically forget any thunderstorm or rainfall event at all on Wednesday, yet the eastern river is still calling for this storm to have a little bit of a swirl happening. I really don't think that this is going to have any thunderstorm activity whatsoever. If that's the case, by around Wednesday, it'll just be a very hard to find swirling feature over the ocean as it makes its final approach to landfall. Anyways, that is a very long-winded look at ex-tropical or tropical cyclone Olga. It still is a Category 1 strength system, and it's likely to be a Category 1 strength system for the next 24 hours, but that is certainly enough rambling about a system that is on her final legs. We're now going to take a look at some rainfall expected for far northern Queensland and also for Queensland as a whole. Now, I did say that we're looking out for some tropical low activity developing on next Saturday or Sunday, or this coming Saturday and Sunday, and especially in towards Monday. Well, it has actually held itself on the forecast models for the past week, so I would not be surprised if this does actually materialize. Now, the eastern will be not 100% on board with it, but you can see from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday especially, and then into Thursday, a lot of rainfall is expected to materialize on the central to northern Queensland coastline for areas extending up from Mackay right up towards Cooktown and Hopevale, including Townsville and Cairns, especially areas south of Cairns and Townsville. They're expecting a lot of rainfall to occur from this weather system, and will likely be peaking from Tuesday into Thursday. Now, the GFS model, again, not 100% on board with it, but they are still on board with the tropical low swirling up in the Coral Sea. It's going to be a very weak tropical low, but it will be enough to drive quite a lot of this rainfall ashore. The Access model, however, really bullish on how much rainfall the Access G3 model wants, especially Tuesday and into Wednesday. A lot of rainfall expected between Cairns and Townsville, and then up towards Cairns, right up towards the Cape York Peninsula on Wednesday onwards, and that would include locations such as Weipa and Thursday Island, and then that will slowly weaken off as this tropical low completely pulls away from the Queensland coastline. Likely not going to become a tropical cyclone, doesn't have any tropical cyclone characteristics, but yeah, certainly some significant rainfall expected to develop Sunday evening onwards. And from the Access G3 model, you're looking at locations around Innisfail, possibly picking up to 300 millimeters or so, and again, that can be quite underestimated considering the local topography of the area. And then up towards Laura and Lockhart River, you're probably looking at a further 200 millimeters up there as well, but that will mostly be Wednesday and Thursday as opposed to the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday rainfall that we're going to be seeing Cairns to Townsville. Certainly the chances of some flood watches and warnings being put into effect, that's for sure, because of the amount of rainfall that is expected. But yeah, just notice how much or how little rainfall is expected for parts of the Northern Territory. This is the last significant rainfall of wet season 2024. Conditions will certainly start to dry up. Of course, with the tropical northern Queensland coast, rainfall can happen year round up there, and you can see it's not uncommon to see 100 millimeters or so fall on a July day. So the wet season truly never ends for areas around Innisfail, but it will certainly start to dry up, and you'll see a lot more sunny days and a lot less of this speckly shower activity that's been streaming ashore quite consistently over the past 6 months. Rainfall accumulation, though, nothing crazy, 300 millimeters or so, and then as you get inland, drops down to around 25 to 40 millimeters, although there could be some areas around Charters Towers that pick up a further 100 or 120 millimeters of rainfall or so. So we can't be writing out some higher or more significant rainfall accumulations there. Now, the GFS are not truly on board with this situation right now. They do actually have a higher chance for a tropical low developing in the Coral Sea, probably from, I believe, next Saturday, and it actually sort of makes a landfall around Cooktown or so, and that's what actually drives all of this rainfall ashore, is that tropical low making its final landfall around the Cairns area. So again, this is an interesting forecast. There's quite a lot of variables to it, but I do believe what's what's actually going to be happening is a tropical low or a big wave of moisture is going to move in from the Solomon Sea into the northern Coral Sea by this weekend, maybe Saturday evening or into Sunday morning, and it's going to be driving a ton of rainfall ashore from about Monday afternoon through Tuesday, Wednesday, and then easing off probably Thursday. Probably about Thursday evening by the looks of things, this rainfall does ease off. But each day, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, possibly up to 100 millimetres for some locations. The wettest of places could get closer to 200 millimetres, and then through, I believe, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe if you were to extrapolate the forecast, maybe 50 millimetres a day. And again, the wettest of locations for this rainfall event could pick up 300 or 400 millimetres. We're going to wait and see what the forecast does. This has actually been pretty consistent over the past couple of days. I have neglected to cover it because of how much it simply changed last week. And again, it's no point predicting rainfall 10 days out in advance. But now that it's 5 or 6 days out in advance next Monday, I do feel that we're a lot more within our own right to start looking at rainfall up here and really start to hammer home what is actually expected, because rainfall forecasts have come a long way in the past couple of years, and it's now very possible to predict rainfall quite accurately 7 days out in advance. We did it with Cyclone Jasper, and we did a really good job with Cyclone Jasper, and we'll do it again with other tropical cyclones and tropical activity in far north Queensland, notoriously one of the most unpredictable spots for rainfall, not just around Australia but also around the world. Now, you'll also notice that last night, especially if you're waking up in Victoria, Tasmania, or New South Wales, and southern New South Wales rather, it has been a chilly one overnight. You've been hit by a cold front. It's been quite a strong cold front, and it has left some shower activity. Nothing crazy though, this cold front, and it will be driving some shower activity for Sydney and that sort of area, and especially Lord Howe Island. That's going to get hammered tomorrow evening by the looks of things. But yeah, from tonight into early tomorrow morning for the New South Wales coast, likely going to be quite a bit of rainfall, and also some very stormy and swirly seas, with seas up towards 5 or 5.5 metres expected, and also some chilly conditions, very windy conditions, might I add. But yeah, looking quite stormy, that's for sure. And we have had a nice dusting of snow overnight for parts of the New South Wales highlands. In fact, over the past 12 hours, we've had snowfall accumulations of around 1 to 3 centimetres. The snow season 2024 well and truly underway, and that is reflective of the temperature. The temperature around these areas right now, very chilly for Mount Hotham to -2 degrees, and also for Thredbo, you're looking at -2 degrees this morning. So very cold conditions is what we have woken to in Victoria and also parts of New South Wales. Those will likely warm up throughout the course of today. They're not going to stay cold forever, but it looks like Wednesday morning as well could be a rather chilly one for some of the highlands, down to 0 degrees again before it slowly starts to warm up throughout this week. It is April, so we're not going to be seeing those really bitterly cold nights yet where we're looking at -7 or -8 or even colder, but we will be seeing those pretty soon. It's not going to be long until winter is fully upon us. Look at this rogue 39 degrees Celsius for the sunlands in South Australia. Just shows you that weather isn't always accurate, and it can be quite hard to get a grip of, even if you have ground observations, because they are not always correct. But yeah, warming up throughout the course of this week. Might be some chilly nights in the southern part of Australia next weekend into early next week, with the passage of another cold front, maybe Wednesday or so, but nothing too crazy. As I said, not seeing those bitterly cold nights for quite a while yet, but they're certainly starting to extend into New Zealand. I've just cited this little blob here of those -4 degrees, -5 degrees, and they're really going to start to extend through New Zealand as the winter season gets upon them. Their winter season typically about a month ahead of Australia, so what we see over the next month in New Zealand will likely reciprocate itself amongst Tasmania, and then heading further north into Victoria and New South Wales. That's what I like to do, and I've been looking at that for the past 5 years, and I find that that's a model that generally works quite well, is look at New Zealand, and what happens there will happen in around 2 or 3 weeks in the southern parts of Australia, depending on where you are. West Australian viewers probably asking for rain in this video. Well, unfortunately, there is none in sight over the next 10 days. There is going to be a little bit inland in the goldfields and the wheat belt as a result of the passage of ex-tropical Cyclone Olga, but really nothing for Perth. And because even though Perth does have some rainfall on the forecast here, from the forecast models. I'm not calling that as possible rainfall because it is from thunderstorms. Very hard to predict, and it's going to be something we'll have to take a look at probably closer to the time, although it is only about 4 days out. I believe that's Friday night. Yeah, I just don't see the possibility of strong thunderstorms on Friday night to deliver rainfall for Perth, but again, it's something I'll keep a very close eye on, that's for sure, because we are edging for some rainfall right now. But yeah, 10 millimetres will not fix our problems. We need 50 millimetres over 24 hours, over a week we do, to really fix our rainfall woes right now. The driest 7 months on record, and there is no end in sight. We really want winter season 2024 to kick off for us. Now this weekend I've got something very special planned. 2 videos, one of them regarding the formation of thunderstorms around Australia. It's a special education video that I've been working on for the past couple of weeks. It's something that I do hope to release this weekend, but considering licensing and so forth, it might be pushed back just a little bit further until next weekend. But what I can tell you for sure that's coming out this weekend is a winter forecast nationwide regarding snow and rainfall for the southern states this winter, because they have been neglected in my forecasts as we've been looking at wet season 2024. We're going to look at winter season 2024 down in southern Australia, and that's coming out on Saturday. So make sure Sunday rather. So make sure you are subscribed, because you don't want to be missing out on your Australian winter forecast. That is all from me, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.